Today on Commander Replay, we kick off Dominaria Week with a bang. Can Muldrotha the Gravetide throw away past Marton Stromgold, Marath Will of the Wild, and Nath of the Guiltleaf? Find out next on Commander Replay. Welcome back, everyone. Dominaria Week, Muldrotha the Gravetide. Let's do it. Taking a look at our opening hand. Oh, so awkward. We have Strip Mine, Sol Ring, which would go into Ashnod's Altar, but we have no colored mana. That seems a little bit too risky, so we're going to mulligan that. Yeah, this is a much better hand. And we got a Mana Crypt to boot, so we should be able to get off to a pretty fast start right here. So we'll keep this one. Pajuka Bog for our opponent. Luckily, they're getting rid of that now, because that is one of those cards that can do a lot of damage to our deck. So our turn one, play this Marsh Flats, crack the Marsh Flats, get a Bayou, play the Mana Crypt, and play the Farhaven Elf, get a land. What color do we need? We don't have any blue currently, so we'll get a blue. And pass the turn. And this is why Mana Crypt should be banned, because of starts like this. On turn 2, we're going to have 5 mana available to us, and that's just crazy. It's when someone hits that double acceleration hand with Mana Crypt or Sol Ring that things really get out of control. So back to our turn, get a Mana Crypt flip. We'll go Tails. We won the flip. Ooh, there's an Avenger of Zendikar. That'll be nice. So play our Swamp, play this Sidisi. One floating, not much we can do about it. Mill some stuff, hit a land, a Search for Escanta, and a Factor Fiction. Could have hit a creature in there. We'll swing into the Marath for 1. So as I mentioned, we're playing Muldrotha the Gravetide, 3 black, green, blue, for a 6/6. During each of your turns, you may play up to 1 permanent card of each permanent type from your graveyard. Absolutely ridiculous. There are a ton of really powerful sultai-colored graveyard-based commanders, and Muldrotha is the next iteration of that. And I played one game already, and its ability can be pretty powerful. The only downside is it's just a little bit slow at 6 mana to get into play. And opponents can use the Gaia Reach Sanitarium to loot. We draw into a Reflecting Pool. I like that Reflecting Pool. I'm actually going to get rid of the Survival of the Fittest. 1, because I'm not about to discard this Avenger of Zendikar. And 2, because we can always get it back with our commander later on. Nath of the Guiltleaf coming into play. Ooh, that thing's going to get nasty. So Mana Crypt flip for us. We'll go Tails again. Lost the flip. Down to 36. There's an Entomb. Play the Reflecting Pool. How much mana do we have? We have 6 total mana. We'll attack into the Marton Stromgold this turn. We'll get another Sidisi trigger. Mills the Wood Elves. Actually mills 2 creatures. So Marton Stromgold goes down to 36. This is going to be ridiculous, actually. This is going to be a turn 3 Avenger of Zendikar. So play the Ashnod's Altar. Sacrifice the zombie. Sacrifice the Farhaven Elf. Play the Avenger of Zendikar. Wow. Turn 3 Avenger of Zendikar. Nice. Pass the turn. There's a Hainwar Garrison for the Marton Stromgold. Mana Crypt for the Marath opponent. So Marath coming into play comes in with 3 counters on it. Opponent's going to ping their ranging raptors and get themselves a land. That's actually a pretty good little combo right there. And going to shoot the ranging raptors again, get another land. Wow, that's really good. So opponent basically caught up to us in terms of mana count, although we still have the Ashnod's Altar that we can do a lot of work with. Opponent's going to have the Nath opponent's going to have the Marath opponent discard a card at random. Luckily, it's not us. They get a token out of the deal. This card was a Spite Mare. There's one you don't see much of. Yeah, I guess you can redirect the damage from Marath with that. Sounds pretty good to me. Well, I'm not sure why you'd need to. Marath hits any target. We draw into a Toxic Deluge. We'll discard the Entomb right here. That's going to get some more triggers. And a Jiraga Tree Speaker coming down for the Nath opponent. Back to our turn, we get a Mana Crypt trigger. We'll go Tails. Lost the flip. We find a fetch land. Nice. Fetch lands are nice. So, cast our commander. We're going to sacrifice a token to do it. We can now cast things from our graveyard, which is pretty sweet. Drop this Wooded Foothills. Avenger of Zendikar is going to trigger. Use the ability. Crack the Wooded Foothills. Going to get a Tropical Island. Avenger of Zendikar is going to trigger again. Ooh, nice. We can cast the Sol Ring from our graveyard, and that'll up our mana a little bit. So we can go blue, Sol Ring, and then search for Escanta. I want to get that into play. Ooh, we can get the Wood Elves. What do we sack to get the Wood Elves? I think we'll sack the Sidisi right here. Get some more mana. Cast the Wood Elves. Get an Overgrown Tomb. Pay the life. Avenger of Zendikar will trigger. Use the crop rotation. We'll sacrifice the Swamp. We'll get a Westvale Abbey right here, because that seems like a lot of fun. Use the ability again. If we sacrifice 2 creatures, we can flip the Westvale Abbey. And that's what we're going to do. Sacrifice the Wood Elves. We'll sacrifice the Avenger of Zendikar right here, since we can just try to get it back next turn anyway. And, oh, you have to sacrifice 5 creatures. Can I undo that? All right, undo, baby. Nice. Pay 5, sacrifice 5 creatures. Ooh, yeah, that's a fairly steep cost. We'll just wait on that. Still seems like fun though. 2 colorless floating mana. I don't know if there's anything we can do with it. Check our graveyard real quick. I think we've done everything we can do. And let's get down to combat. Marath makes me the most nervous, so we're gonna swing into them. Marath goes down to 22. Hainwer Garrison gonna swing into us. Not really sure what the plan is there. I don't know. We just block, I guess. Opponent plays a Skull Clamp. I guess that was a ploy just to draw some cards. Well, you gotta do what you gotta do. Marath's turn. They're gonna get a Mana Crypt flip. Signet coming down for the Marath opponent. Marath's gonna shoot the Raging Raptors again. It's gonna sacrifice itself in the process and get another land. Wow, that is really good in that deck. I kind of want to play that now. There's a Boundless Realms for the Marath opponent. Problem is we will try to kill them on their next turn, so they will probably not have a chance to use that. Nath's going to get a trigger, and they're going to target the Marton Stromgold opponent. Gets a Fiery Gambit. Opponent's going to loot with Gyreach Sanitarium. Oh, there's a Shieldred. I guess we discard the Shieldred because we can get it back. I like having Toxic Deluge in our hand. That gives us some out. That gives us outs against things, which I like. Gets Grimoire. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may draw a card. Yeah, seems good in that deck. Opponent's going to level up their Jiraga Tree Speaker. And back to our turn, we get a Search for Escanta trigger and a Mana Crypt trigger. With Tails in the Mana Crypt. Lost the flip. Down to 26. The top card of our library is a Rise of the Dark Realms. We are not going to put that into our graveyard, but we will get to transform the Search for Escanta. We draw into the Rise of the Dark Realms. Oh, such a good card. So let's play a land from our graveyard, get another Avenger trigger, crack the Marsh Flats, we'll get a Swamp, another Avenger trigger, go to combat, try to kill the Marath opponent. Opponent's going to block, and opponent goes down, -4. We could get crazy with the Rise of the Dark Realms there, but I think we'll keep it in our back pocket. In the meantime, we're going to get a bunch of things out of our graveyard. Hey, let's get this Shieldred. Easily one of the best cards in our deck. We can get our Survival of the Fittest back, so we'll do that. Do we have enough to search for Escanta? We'd have to sacrifice a creature to do so. Don't feel like doing that at this particular moment, so we will pass the turn. Shieldred trigger for our opponent. No creatures in play, though. Beetleback Chief coming into play. It's going to make 2 1/1 red goblin tokens. And opponent's going to do some more card drawing. Probably trying to find a Blasphemous Actors. Something like that. Shieldred trigger and a Nath trigger. I bet they point the Nath trigger at us. Yep. I kind of want both of these cards, actually. We lose the Rise of the Dark Realms. You know, is what it is. But as long as the Toxic Deluge sticks around, we can go X1 and wipe all of these blockers for our opponent, and that seems like it'll be a pretty good idea. It's a Grave Pact. That's going to make things a little bit more complicated. Opponent's going to loot with the Gyreach Sanitarium. A Mnemonic Wall, you say? Yeah, we'll discard the wall for now. So opponent's going to get to draw some cards based on the discard. They're also going to have to make more tokens. And then they're going to get to Madness and Asylum Visitor. So I think what we do right here, since we're going to have to wipe the board anyway, sacrifice one of these tokens. Then we'll use our Search for Escanta to look at the top 4 of our library, may reveal a non-creature, non-land, and put it into the hand, put the rest on the bottom. Non-creature, non-land, you say. There's a Living Death. And a Dead Bridge Chant. We'll take the Dead Bridge right here, since we already have Rise of the Dark Realms in our graveyard. So we're going to get a Shieldred trigger. We're going to put it on the Mnemonic Wall. We'll go heads. We won the flip. Nice. Get the Mnemonic Wall. Get back the Rise of the Dark Realms. Oh, there's a fetch land. We're going to wait on that fetch land until we can try to get Avenger of Zendikar back into play. Then we're going to sacrifice all of our creatures. Get as much mana as we possibly can. I'm going to send Muldrotha to the graveyard right here. Get a Toxic Deluge for 4. Whole bunch of Grave Pact triggers. Then we will Rise of the Dark Realms. Get a whole bunch of creatures. Get back the Rise of the Dark Realms. Get a land. Landfall trigger on the Avenger of Zendikar. Mnemonic Wall. Get back the Rise of the Dark Realms. Satyr Wayfinder. Do some more milling. We'll grab the land. Sidisi's going to trigger. Sidisi's going to mill some stuff. Sidisi's going to make some creatures. Wood Elves. Get a forest. Avenger of Zendikar will trigger again. Play this fetch land. Avenger of Zendikar will trigger again. We're going to transform the Westvale Abbey. I'll sacrifice the goblins, the wood elves, the Wayfinder, this Lenoir elf. We'll get a land. And now we've got an Ormondal. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever actually had an Ormondal before. I wasn't really playing Standard then, or when I was playing Mono Red. So, yeah, Ormondal is very exciting. And then we will lay down this Dead Bridge Chant. It's going to mill a bunch of cards, top 10. Another Sidisi token. Go to combat. Swing into the Nath opponent with the Ormondal. Then we're going to pass the turn and just hope that opponents can't find a board wipe, and if they don't, that should be game. Shielded trigger, no creatures in play. In the Web of War, sweet card. Sadly, we probably won't get to see our opponent do very much with it, but it's a card that I always want to play, but it's just a little bit too slow at 5 mana. Opponent says GG, did not have the board wipe. So, back to our turn. Bunch of triggers for stuff. We got a Grave Titan, Mana Crypt, Dead Bridge. We find a Grizzly Salvage. We'll go heads. Lost the flip. Down to 27. Grave Titan. Get some zombies. And go to combat. We should probably crack this fetch just in case. I didn't actually run the math on what we were attacking with. I just assumed that it was enough, but just to be safe. So more zombie tokens. And so opponent has decided to time out. I'm not going to wait the 10 minutes for them. Obviously, we have lethal, and they can't do anything about it, so we're just going to scoop it up right here. So yeah, this deck can be really powerful. Obviously, the start we had was on the back of a Mana Crypt double acceleration start, so we had Mana Crypt into the Farhaven Elf, and that put us at 5 mana on turn 2, and when you do that, that'll make any deck look broken. This deck isn't always going to play like that. Obviously, if you have a really fast start like that, you can do some really crazy stuff like we did. The first game that I played with it, it was quite a bit slower. People were actually able to out-tempo me, just because if Muldrotha dies, it's 8 to get him back into play, and that's pretty expensive. Granted, his ability is really cool, but if you're doing that, you're probably tapping out, and you can't really afford to necessarily recast creatures from your graveyard, so that is one thing to consider, but the deck is really powerful, does a lot of cool stuff. I'm sure this deck list can be refined a little bit. I haven't played it a ton, and I haven't looked at a ton of deck lists for it, so I'm sure there's probably still a few upgrades to be made and just tightening up the mana curve and things like that. But yeah, really powerful deck. As soon as I saw the card, I knew that it was going to be really powerful because we've already had a lot of these sultai graveyard-based commanders, and they all, in my opinion, as someone who plays predominantly aggro decks, they all seem to be just a little bit too strong. Muldrotha's one saving grace is that it is a little bit slow at 6 mana. But anyway, yeah, this deck is a ton of fun to play. If you like graveyard-based decks, this is a really sweet graveyard-based commander. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.